Welcome to Debate Tonight. On the agenda this evening, we interview Keegan Dempsey, renowned NRA Vice President and outspoken gun activist, and Zach Epstein, the Coalition to Stop Gun Violence most famous journalist. And I'm Marissa Dino. I'll be here every step of the way guiding our debate. Keegan, how are you this evening?
Well, I'm excited to share the right point of view on gun control with America.
Thank you, Keegan. We are excited to hear from you. Zach, how do you feel tonight?
I feel fantastic, and I hope what I have to say really sticks home with the people of this great country. I really hope my views of me and my organization will come to and be victorious within the Supreme Court in this next coming years.
Great stuff from both of these guys. My first question goes to you, Mr. Dempsey. What makes you believe that it is okay for people of our country to be able to own and carry guns at almost all times?
Gun ownership isn't just constitutionally protected. It actually reflects the spirit of the American Revolution. The Founding Fathers were terrified of tyranny reasserting itself, so when they created a democracy, they framed it as a constitutional republic bound by limits. Ergo, the Second Amendment gives individuals and communities the leverage of physical self-defense. They can protect themselves against potential state terror. It is true the language of the amendment is surprisingly ambiguous, making reference to the right of contemporary militias rather than individuals to own guns. But interpreting a text thoughtfully cuts both ways. You can choose to read it as historically situated or as something with timeless intent.
Your response, Mr. Epstein?
The Supreme Court ruled in McDonald v. Chicago in 2010 that while private citizens can own weapons, they are also subject to restrictions on those weapons. It is not your right to build and own a nuclear weapon, nor is it a toting pistol in your pocket an unfettered national right. Minors can't buy alcohol, and we can't buy cold medicine right off the shelf, because our society decided that we need to protect citizens from drug abuse and trafficking. It is not a leap to insist that we must also regulate guns to protect Americans from gun violence.
Mr. Dempsey, please.
It's my right.
Anyways, Mr. Epstein, what is your main argument against guns in America?
Quite simply, gun control saves lives. Gun right activists and other extremists act like every attempt to create sane and logical regulations on guns is a fascist assault on their own freedom. But a quick look at other nations shows this to be untrue. Australia, which has a similar frontier history to the United States, enacted gun control following the horrific Port Arthur massacre, in which a deranged man murdered 35 town residents and wounded 23 more. The restrictions were enacted by a conservative prime minister and resulted in a 59% drop in gun homicides there. Further, recent studies reveal that higher gun ownership rates were correlated with higher homicide rates, both within the United States and amongst different high-income countries.
Your response, Mr. Dempsey?
Well, guns kill, but they also save lives. America is awash with guns to the point where they have become a part of the fabric of the social order. That means that while they are the source of anarchy, they can also be interpreted as something that keeps the peace. Our stance is that because criminals have ready access to guns, then it is only fair to even the odds for potential victims by permitting them to own them as well. And there's some evidence of correlation between the liberalization of gun laws and declining rates of violent crime. While a tragic number of people continue to die from gunfire every year, the statistics are shaped by two ugly but exceptionally phenomenal lone shooters venting their rage in public places and drug crime.
Okay, for this last one, Mr. Dempsey, why do you feel the need to have an assault rifle in America?
A right is a right and you don't have to justify it. A question that keeps arising is, why do you need to own an assault rifle? To them, the question is redundant. The Constitution says they can, so they will. This "don't tread on my spirit" might strike the liberal as pure bloody-mindedness. The spike in gun sales following Sandy Hook will be motivated in part by Obama's threat to regulate firearms more tightly. But it's also the product of culture that prioritizes individual liberty over corporate responsibility. Moreover, we would argue that an assault weapon is only an assault weapon if used to assault someone. And in healthier society, that would happen as rarely as possible.
Mr. Epstein, what do you think about that statement?
Fewer guns mean fewer gun crimes. Period. It is common for gun advocates to claim that the solution to gun violence is to be more heavily armed. So that can take out some brandishing a weapon against you. That view is summed up by the popular saying, the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. But again, that is a logical argument. As succinctly stated by Joshua Sager on the Progressive Synthetic, gun control means that fewer guns in society means that as guns are harder to obtain, legally and illegally legal guns become harder to come by. When more guns are confiscated by the police or are used in murders and disposed of or put onto the streets, it will become harder for criminals to find the clean guns they...
Alright guys, any closing statements?
These 3 points are rooted in logic, fairness, and the idea that we will all live together in society. That is the essence of democracy. And our democracy is based on the idea that we all have a social contract that will ensure the well-being of all citizens, not just gun fetishes. And that is the ultimate reason we need gun control. The American people should not have to live in fear every time they enter a public place, send their children to school, or sleep in their own beds at night. The time has come to bring common sense to the dialogue on gun control.
In a perfect world, gun control would mean going house to house throughout the nation and taking away every single firearm, including muzzle loaders. That would be impossible. Regardless of its constitutionality, gun owners would either fight back until there were a nationwide war, or simply hide their weapons and claim they have none. Since most of those in the U.S. are unregistered, no one knows who has what. Owners could always claim they destroyed those that are registered. Thus, to debate gun control is a futile exercise. They cannot be controlled, not anymore. The continuation of buying and selling them cannot make the situation any worse because criminals will never again have to go far to find one.
Thank you. That's all from the debate tonight. Tune in next week when we hear Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders debate about immigration. Until next time, have a safe rest of your week.